Man, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Talking Pop Culture with Jake D. Oh, man, it is a pleasure to be here with you tonight, and I am going to do a quick reaction, non-spoiler stream to Season 3 of Cobra Kai. Before we get rolling, though, say hello to the folks in the chat. Looks like we've got Lord Thoth with us tonight. Thoth, always good to have you here, my friend. Alex, I so wish I could pronounce your name properly, who is a longtime supporter of the channel. Always good to see you here, sir. And good morning to you, because, of course, you are on the other side of the globe from me, my friend. Mary G, oh, yes, already watched the whole season and wants more. Vigilante Williamson is here with us in the chat. Hail to Vigilante Williamson. If you have not checked out his channel, I do strongly recommend it. He has got some really great content and just absolutely a blessing to this platform, and I'm blessed to count him as a friend. All right, Cobra Kai Season 3, man. Wow. Just finished. I actually put the stream off a little bit because I wanted to make sure that I could finish watching the entire season before popping in and going live to give their reaction. Again, I'm going to stay away from any kind of spoilers overall. I will discuss a couple of things that we would have seen in the trailers, but certainly won't get into anything that you're not aware of. So the end of Season 2 of Cobra Kai, which I didn't watch until it hit Netflix back in the August, September timeframe, left us with a major fight at the high school where Miguel was, of course, kicked off over the edge and he fell down and careened and like broke his back, hitting into a railing on the staircase. And of course, this is going to have major repercussions in Season 3. Obviously, it's a big deal, both personally for the characters that we're starting to really develop some serious love for, and as well for legally for a few of them, so there's a lot of stuff going on, right? And of course, John Kreese has fully taken back control of Cobra Kai from Johnny through his dirty dealings, and Johnny is left in some ways back at the drawing board because maybe even worse than we first found him, which was not a good place when this show started in that first episode of Season 1 that caught everybody's attention so well. We see throughout the season, one of the things that the producers, which is Zabka and Machio, these two guys are a very critical component to running this show. And one of the things that was really cool to experience as we went through this season is the producers are taking pieces from the past movies and bringing them to today. So we see again some of the old characters. Again, I will discuss things that were in the trailer or previously well known if you're looking at news for the season without getting into any kind of significant spoiler details. So I guess if you haven't read that stuff, then perhaps a little bit of minor spoiler detail to follow shortly. First, rating for the season overall, I'm bringing this one in at a 9 out of 10. It was so good. I enjoyed every episode. The character development that we got to see from both Johnny and Daniel, particularly at the conclusion of the season, was top notch. You really continue to develop your love for Zabka playing Johnny Lawrence, and seeing him really step forward and the arc that he goes through over Season 3 is probably the best one that he's had yet. We've seen a lot of development out of the Johnny Lawrence character over the course of the two previous seasons, and that just continues in a very, very satisfying way. Some of the things that you've been wanting to see happen to Johnny, we do absolutely get to experience in season 3. And for me, it was excellent. Zabka really owns the screen, and he's absolutely still remaining our true main character, and in many ways the one that you empathize with the most and connect with the most. He's certainly, for me, my favorite character on the show, which of course is by design, and they just do a great job with it. LaRusso does also take some steps that I think most fans have been wanting him to. And the journey that Daniel went through over season 3, also very, very satisfying. There were, points within the season where you really wondered where he was going to go. And for me, the decisions that he made and the steps that he took, especially the last couple of episodes were so good. I watched the first 8 yesterday and just finished the final 2 tonight. And wow, those last 2 episodes were amazing. I was just blown away at how much I enjoyed them. And LaRusso, similar to to Lawrence. See, I'm switching the actors' names and the characters' names. But LaRusso's story was also very, very good in season 3. It's pretty well known that he was taking a trip to Japan at some point in the season, and the reasons that sent him there were very, very cool. And he got a lot of closure while he was in Japan on certain things, and that was really neat. They teased that there was some kind of Miyagi secret during the trailers for the season, and there was, and what it turned out to be was really, really good. There was one somewhat surprise guest star for a couple of episodes that I was certainly not expecting. We knew that Kumiko was going to be in the season for a little bit, who was Daniel's girlfriend during Karate Kid 2 when he was in Okinawa. And there were 2 other cameos that happened during that trip that we did not know about going into the season, and they really paid off. One of the things that the writers have done for this show is they're paying attention to some of the details and like the experiences that old fans are going to want to see. And for anybody who's seen the entire series, there is a line sort of right at the end that I swear to God, it was like a stick in the eye to Lucasfilm and Doctor Who and some of those other properties that really pissed off their old fan base. And this line that was spoken by one of the characters, like I couldn't believe what I was watching. I swear to God, it was like Machio and Zabka were flipping a double bird at some of those properties that have been disrespecting their past. And it was brought in by a new character. And that line that was delivered by that character was instrumental in some of the closure that these characters got on their past in this season. And I absolutely loved it. If you're somebody who's been aware of or part of or involved with the Fandom Menace, which is a group of sort of loosely affiliated people who simply want studios to respect their fans, particularly when they're dealing with older IP properties like The Karate Kid or like Star Wars or like Doctor Who. One of the things that the Fandom Menace is so adamant and united about despite whatever disagreements we may have, are that it's extremely important to respect the fans and to respect the properties that you're working on. And this speech in that final episode was, I felt like the character was talking to me and telling me that this property, not that I didn't already know it, but the character was telling me what good hands this property is in. And it was such a cool experience. I mean, it wasn't like fourth wall breaking or anything like that, but in the same way that Doctor Who's horrible New Year's special basically told their fans to F off, it was the complete contrast to that, where it talked about embracing their fans. And it was hysterical to me, because those two things both hit the airwaves on literally the same day, January 1st, 2020. I swear to God, it's almost like Zabka and Machio knew that speech was coming in Doctor Who, and they wanted to counterpoint it. It was incredible. All 10 episodes of this are very easy to run through and watch, and just bang, 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 bang. It's a good binge watch. And yeah, Alex, corporations can and still do choose not to respect fandom, but they'll go broke. Yes, they can certainly make that choice. And what was wonderful about every season we've seen of Cobra Kai so far, and honestly, especially season 3, was they didn't reject their fans and their history. They embraced it. They embraced it lovingly, and they built new fans, I think. Certainly the popularity of the show suggests that. And the buzz that is going around is largely so positive about this show. I did happen to see a couple of articles that were critical of season 3, and they came from reviewers who loved things like The Last Jedi, which pretty much told me instantly I was going to love season 3. And I did. It is absolutely a 9 out of 10 for the entire season. And there is so much going on that, again, fans find it satisfying and respectful while the story is moving forward in a very meaningful way. There are some characters that took some unexpected turns. So, for example, the fate of Robbie, I don't think it caught me a little off guard. And there's definitely still a lot of things to solve for Robbie. But we saw a lot of good story movement forward, and a lot of resolution and closure from some of these old wounds, and maybe some things you wondered about from those old Karate Kid movies, which was really, really cool to experience. Overall, it was everything that I wanted. Negatives that keep the season from getting to that 10 out of 10 peak. There were some. I mean, let's not pretend there was nothing at all that could have been done better. I read a little bit about this in some articles that were sort of non-spoiler reviews prior to the season dropping. And one of the things that I did notice that a couple of those articles had called out was that sometimes it was a little bit obvious that a stunt double was used for the fighting. In particular, you notice it with Machio. And some of the kids, it was pretty obvious when a stunt double came in. And it was basically some of the actors are reasonably well trained to do the fighting scenes, and some of them are not. And you do see that. I don't know if maybe Machio is just he is in his 50s, so don't misunderstand. I'm not knocking the guy for not being able to do fight scenes. That's not easy when you're in your mid 50s. It isn't, right? I'm 41 and I would struggle mightily with that despite my own martial arts training. So it is a little bit noticeable, which is unfortunate. It works. It's not like something that rips you out of the scene or anything like that. But I definitely noticed in a couple of fights that in some of the scenes that were a little more intense, it was not Machio doing the fighting. On the other hand, Zabka did seem to be doing all of his own stunts in the fighting, which was kind of cool. And you see that with the kids too, like Hawk seemed to be doing all of his fighting, whereas a couple of the others, you could tell it was a stunt guy in there. Which is a shame. It's tough. I mean, it's tough to get that right, especially when you're doing martial arts fights like these. So you noticed a little bit of that. That stops it from getting a 10 out of 10. There's a couple of characters that I think that they want you to connect to and empathize with. That it doesn't. I mean, I think they're intended as sympathetic characters. Samantha's the key example here. I think they want you to see her as a sympathetic character, but I know, speaking particularly for my girlfriend, she really doesn't like Sam. And, I'm a little, I'm kind of on the fence with her. I don't have some of the very strong negative feelings toward her that my girlfriend does. But I understand why she feels that way about her. And I imagine that experience is probably going to vary viewer to viewer on that piece. Most of your sympathetic characters you're connecting strongly with. And the reason why I think there's not as strong a sympathy towards Sam is because a lot of her problems are of her own making. Now, granted, she's a 17-year-old high school girl, and 17-year-old high school girls do indeed cause a lot of their own problems. So I don't think that she's an unrealistic character. It's just hard for some folks to find sympathy with her, I imagine. I would be curious what my daughter's opinions are about that particular character, particularly my older one. I wonder if she might be more sympathetic than my girlfriend and I are. Of course, we're old, so we look at it a little bit differently. And I think Tori and Miguel were doing their stunts as well. I agree with you there, Mary G. And that's, don't misunderstand, that keeps it from getting a 10 out of 10. It doesn't make it bad. You can't expect every single actor to be able to do martial arts fighting. I mean, that's not all of them are going to be able to. Not everybody's able to fight at that level, So, Samantha's prissy and self-righteous and causes more problems than she solves. Now, that being said, she did actually, at the end of the season, seem to start recognizing some of that. Well, maybe not recognizing it, but doing things that could perhaps address some of the problems that she caused. So that was good. But music choices were neat this season. They used a lot of the same soundtracks that we saw in the movies. They weren't the original artists, but it was some of the same songs. And there was, in the final scene of the season, the music choice was particularly excellent. And it was, I've been waiting for this moment all my life. And it was just perfect. I loved it in the final scene. And looking forward to season 4, which has been greenlit. And they've definitely set the pieces in place to create season 4, which could easily be the final season. Netflix is a pretty big fan of doing kind of a 3 or 4 season run. And I can see how they would be able to sort of wrap everything up at the end of a season 4, which I'm definitely looking forward to. Oh my God. When we finish this up, it's like, I want more. Oh my God, I want more, and I want more right now. It was wonderful. Yeah, and Alex is saying it's not a super high budget series, compared to the money invested with STD. Cobra Kai is 1,000 times better. I think you've missed it by an order of magnitude, 10,000 times better. I don't even know if you can measure how much better this is than STD, because STD is like, negative in the quality scale. So because it's just, there's no quality there at all. Whereas Cobra Kai is so wonderful. Absolutely, absolutely wonderful. Phenomenal show. And I cannot recommend it enough. The characters, our main guys, I mean, Johnny Lawrence is number one, and you just love this dude. And he even has some moral dilemmas this season that he solves the right way. And that's a pretty big step forward for Johnny, who's had some questionable decisions in the first couple of seasons, and certainly back in that first movie or two. So need an imaginary number to compare them. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So I think that's going to wrap it up, because I can't say much more without starting to get into the spoilers. But we'll definitely talk about this on tomorrow's Howling About Entertainment show. And absolutely we'll go into a more full spoiler review in the future. Probably schedule it for next week, maybe Thursday evening, something like that. But oh my God, 9 out of 10. Highly recommend. Everybody needs to watch this show, because Cobra Kai is just everything a fan wants from a revived IP. It's been Jake D. If you managed to go this long, please remember to like the video. Consider sharing it on social media. And if you haven't already and you found me because you were looking for Cobra Kai, please consider subscribing to the channel. We do a lot of pop culture review, talk about in particular TV shows, and a weekly Howling About Entertainment show every Sunday evening at 5:15 Central Time. Everybody have a good evening. I'll catch you on the next video.